This is Lao Cai. It's the Vietnamese side of the Chinese-Vietnamese border. It's 6:30 in the morning and I'm waiting to cross into China. As you can see, I'm not the only one that's waiting because the border doesn't open up until 7 o'clock. It's raining cats and dogs, but other than that, not bad. Lao Cai, and the Chinese side is Kiko. See hello China. On the bus leaving the border going to Cuney. Those are banana plants.
Oh, wow.
The whole mountain is planted in
Banana mountain.
Four banana trees. Just amazed at how high they farm the hills. Reminds me of the Rockies, only with trees on them. The Chinese kitchen. It's at the bus stop along the highway, and everybody get out. Great big wok, boiling chickens, flour, rice, vegetables, all kinds of fruits, vegetables, dishwasher, and my favorite, chicken. Chicken. And this is the chef and the dishwasher. And here's the buffet line. The only thing I recognized was chicken livers, and they were great. This is a toilet. It's got running water. These are grapes and corn. They pick it by hand, and then they cut the stalks in the stacks and feed it to cattle. And also the rice, you can see that same thing is done by hand. This is a underwater deep sea Jacques Cousteau exhibit. Almost everything in here is American discovered, a few French, a couple English. Stuff is models of the real McCoy, but it doesn't tell you where the real artifacts are stored. Most of it consists just of pictures. It doesn't really have any hands-on models, but these here you can touch, but they're not real. They're just replicas of what the original archaeologists found when they excavated it around 1955, and it comes from the Chinese period right around 200 BC. And there's really some ornamental stuff displayed, but the odd part is none of it's really real. This is kind of neat. It's a replica of the dig site where they found all the artifacts. Again, the hokey part is that these are all replicas, and very few original works actually displayed in the museum. But I think that's because this is a provincial museum versus the National Museum. My guess is in Beijing, although I don't know for sure. The signage don't really tell you, and nobody speaks English, so you got to kind of guess. This part of the museum actually has some real artifacts. This is a water jug. And this is a drum, I think. Nope, another water jug. This part of the museum displays the cultural costumes of the current ethnic Chinese minorities throughout the country. They talk how Chinese invented writing. Here's how it started. Just carved blocks, more of a stamp than anything else, which they used to print up flyers and pictures and whatever they wanted. But this is definitely the birthplace of written language. This is kind of a karaoke sing fest, although the kids know the words. And it's the Immersion in English program, sponsored by RiseMart, which I think is Walmart China. This is the drum tower. And they got a history of all the drums that have been used in China. Some are made of stone, like this one here. And these are made of Maoyang. And this one's made of brass. Drums, drums everywhere. Yeah. A baby bottle on the end of a stick, and he's trying to feed these carp. The carp are all over in this little pond, which is kind of like in this mall area that's just jam-packed with people. The fish don't want to eat though. Little kids trying to catch a fish out of the fish pond, which is actually like a fountain in the middle of this square or mall. Never smile. Doing the Saturday shopping at the K4 shopping store. So basically it's a French supermarket, one of the biggest. It's similar to Walmart. A maze of geraniums. Ni hao. Big horticultural exhibit, and they have bands playing in the evening and stage shows, and it's one of the nicest places I've ever seen. Inside the park there's a lagoon with a stone kind of a little pavilion and a walkway all around the lagoon, and it's about 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, and this place has already got plenty of people. I'm inside this little bamboo forest, and hopefully I won't get lost. I'm still in the park. These guys are harvesting the corn out of the park. I'm not exactly sure what this is. Oh, it's a tortoise and the hare. Morning exercise. Feng Shui. That little kid go. Notice the instructor standing off to the left in the pink. She's telling them what to do. Some are more experienced than others. She corrects anything they do wrong. This one is another little one, but this one is definitely a tropical desert scene. All these little cactuses just beautifully displayed. Great big begonia trees and some kind of a flowering orchid. Still in the Botanical Expo, and this pavilion has just a whole series of carved jade figures. And as you go around the pavilion, the type of jade changes. This is somewhat of like an amber, but some of it's green, white, all various colors. The drawback to this place is nothing is in English, absolutely. This is what raw jade looks like. Can be anywhere from green to black. So far is, oh wait a minute, this is good. What they're doing is setting you up to sell you some, I think. There's nothing like mixing a little capitalism with a little socialism. First you go through probably the most beautiful jade exhibit you ever see in your life, just natural jade. Then they have this great big pavilion, which is basically just one giant Walmart, where all they're selling is just different pieces of jade. These are about 360 yen, which is divide by 6, 60 bucks. Shashini. This is a stone garden. The sidewalk is like a foot massage. It's got little round stones, and you walk on it, and it's like a foot massage. See the people's feet up above me? You walk on it just like a foot massage. Makes you want to howl. I'm in the Golden Bell Tower, and in the distance you can see Kunming. See how big of a city it is? And inside is the bell, oldest and biggest bell in all of China. Super big bell with a little temple. I'm going to ring the bell. I'm going to ring the bell. 2 yen? My friend will pay you. The Golden Temple. an old man being it's beautiful. This is a temple in Kunming, and there's so many offerings that what these guys are shoveling is the wax from the candles that were burnt. And over on the other side is offerings being made currently. Ni hao. Bus stop. All of them are waiting for the old number 5.
Number 5.
On the way between Kunming and Xi'an. Some villages up on the top. There's a river going through the middle, and someplace they have terraced rice. Tofu is real big in China. They love it. There's a whole great big plate of it. And this next door is just like a fast food of chicken and dumplings and duck.
And I will come to you to get you closer and closer. Is it Confucius? I would think so.
It is. The Goose Pagoda, and it's got a series of fountains all the way down through the center of the city. This guy's making them up fresh, man. And he likes picture. He's making them up fresh noodles. Huh? She's over there making them noodles like crazy. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. One of the biggest challenges is getting tickets because nobody speaks English, and as you can see, you're not the only guy trying to buy tickets. Hopefully we're in the right line. Someone said 7, but I'm not sure. They're actually persimmons, and they got a ton of them for sale. Outside the Terracotta Warrior, all kinds of furs for sale. Look like wolves to me. A wolf's fox. Yeah. a statue outside of the terracotta warriors. They love the horse. This is outside the gate to the Terracotta Warriors. Kind of like Disneyland. Got 3 big buildings. 1, 2, 3, 4. Aligned.
Horses, 1 chariot. Larger chariot damaged by rotten, no fire inside.
I'm gonna go this way.
Here, this warrior is damaged, and we discovered a
Yeah.
few animal bones and deer horns. We use animal bones and deer horns. It's like sacrificial offerings. After was burned for divination.
Was it sacrificial?
Sacrificial offerings, right?
Ah.
So it's a first reason how they can use different sacrificial offerings.
This is the 3rd of 3 pits that they've developed. This is the smallest one. And these guys are all just soldiers, no officers. The king was afraid that the officers would do him in, so in this pit he just had the common soldiers. The mice eat the chariot up. 2,600 years ago?
2,200 years.
2,200 years ago they were buried.
Yeah.
And there's 3,600 of them in here?
1,300 pieces.
1,300 warriors in here, and you've uncovered 86 of them. And you're not uncovering the rest of them because of the damage to the color and the material themselves. So they stay hidden until you can preserve them, right?
Yeah.
A general terracotta warrior. And 2 other little generals by the general terracotta warrior. This is a pit. It's about 60,000 square feet. They've undug only part of it because the warrior's color disintegrates very quickly once it's exposed to oxygen. So they've left it buried, hoping to figure out how to preserve it before they open. This is what's called the number 1 chamber, and this contains the most, how many in here?
6,000.
6,000? And they've all been dug up, right?
1,087 restored.
1,087 restored. This is the biggest part of the display. Got to be at least 300-400 meters long, probably 200 meters wide, maybe a little bigger. But as you can see, they all lost their paint. No more paint on any of them. This is the world famous 8th wonder of the world. Terracotta warrior, you? This is the backside. This is a work area where the workmen are putting them back together. Looters broke into the tomb and destroyed most of them. So painstakingly, they put them back together, piece by piece by piece. They had wooden beams covering the soldiers, and those black areas is where the fire that burnt the wood when the looters raided the tombs. And this is really a construction area where they're taking pieces, putting them back together. This is probably the most active dig site of the entire complex. But it really gives you a feel for what it looked like when they start out. Basically just a bunch of broken pieces of pottery that painstakingly is put back together like a Chinese puzzle. This is an example of unrestored terracotta to restored terracotta.
Hello, Ross. Cheap. Sorry.
Too cheap for me. chariot's gone because the wood rotted away. And as you can see, those aren't repaired. These are repaired. Oddly enough, before the warriors were discovered, if you can notice those little digs or holes, those were graves that the modern folks dug and planted their dead before they discovered that underneath the grave was the terracotta tomb. At the lower end of the jaw, there's a copper arrowhead, which is how this guy died. This is a picture of the body armor. It's basically little chunks of leather, horse or cowhide. And there's a leather helmet. That's what they wore to protect themselves.
I said, you give her 20.
In the days of the emperor, the city was walled in. Emperor lived inside the wall. The walls still remain. These are probably 2,000 years old. Inside the city, outside the city. And every good castle must have a moat around it with the water where you keep the alligators in. And the guardhouse. The moat. The traffic in the moat. Don't worry, don't worry. Okay, now just hold it like that. It's already, don't do nothing. Just take the picture. It's running already. No, don't. No. Okay? Yeah.
Okay.
Come here. The gate to the wall. We walked about 10 miles, halfway around the city. It's true what they say, construction everywhere. Cranes, building. Everywhere you go, there's construction. I'm at the Paradise Palace, and this park, and this is a panoramic view. But unfortunately, since they built it, the trees have grown up so you can't see very much of the panorama. It is common in China for parks to be very big open spaces because the government can just take the land and build whatever space they want. And an imperial dragon, lion. In the lake, there's schools of these large goldfish carp. The whole place is just covered with them. Looks more Japanese than Chinese, but this is what the emperor's wives wore. This is an old emperor park. I'm going to try to get another picture. Some sculptures in the park. And then the lake. And the big building across the way. What a beautiful park, huh? Just as Jim Guy had his favorite horses, so did the Tang Emperor Li Shim. And Li Shim named them Shalu, Kualawa, Qingzhou, Shifai Chi, Tiblo, and Beitwa. Of course, that's my English pronunciation. And again, this emperor lasted about 1,300 years, and about around the time of Christ. But the old man's horses' names were Prince, Dick, and good old Nellie. The best I can describe this as a Disneyland for adults. Very few rides, children's section, but for the most part, just a bunch of ponds and quiet area to sit and relax and maybe eat something and drink. And it's kind of a throwback on the Emperor. The Emperor's a big deal. I'm now entering the Tang Paradise Garden or museum, and these are golden dragons which were excavated in 1970. The height is only 2 centimeters, so these are about 10,000 times the original. And this was about the time of Christ, and the emperor lived in a walled city and came out here to a lotus garden, which is, you can visit. This is a replica of the Tang Dynasty. And the interesting part is the streets are rectangle grids, just like the west or Midwest of the United States. And as a result, it makes finding your way around the city very easy. And that's still true today. The city is rectangular in street formation. And there's the emperor himself. Again, the period about the birth of Christ to 1800. In the Tang Dynasty, from about the birth of Christ to 1500, the scholars, which were recognized by the emperor, would come to the lake and drink wine and write poems and verse about the meaning of life. So they called that the rice culture or the wine culture, which means if you were a scholar, you could get drunk, write poetry, and eat well and live well. This guy's playing a little flute. I bought one for $2. I doubt we'll ever be able to play it to the extent he can. This is a Tiananmen Square, and that's the Forbidden City. And this is the Communist Hall of the People, where they have the Communist Party meetings. Forbidden City, Tiananmen Square. National Museum. A big movie screen in Tiananmen Square. And the square itself is where in 1989 the students demonstrated that the government run over with the tanks. National Museum of China, they have a special exhibit on Bulgaria the watch, the Italian watch. And my guess is by the time you get done, they're going to try selling you a watch. It has Chinese watercolors. It's a 10-day exhibit and actually fairly good work. Just different artists displaying their work. It's in Chinese, so I can't really tell who the artist is, but I can tell you that it's Chinese and it's a current exhibit. This gallery has a continuous mural in watercolor that stretches all the way around the gallery itself. There's only one piece of artwork in this gallery, and that's this mural, which is a watercolor seam schematic that goes all the way around the entire gallery. Biggest painting I've ever seen. This part of the gallery just has a whole series of calligraphy drawings. Only God knows what they say because, again, everything is Chinese. Chinese don't like to put much in English. I don't know why, but they don't. They use a lot of American actors and stuff like that. But when it comes to language, not so much. This gallery is all about Chinese opera. Has costumes and pictures of bygone stars of the Chinese opera. And here's the Chinese Beijing Opera House and some costume from some performance, but again, couldn't tell you what because guess what? Everything is in what's known as Chinese. Looks like Fiddler on the Roof, but I don't think so. One of the reasons why opera is so important to the Chinese is they used it a lot in the propaganda. Here's a picture of Mao, an opera star of the time. They used opera to promote the revolution. That the capitalists were the bad guys and people were being suppressed by them. I'm not sure, but early days of the party. This gallery is primarily Buddhist religious sculpture. This is a Bushiva circa 960. And this again is 960. 960, oddly enough, the Tang Dynasty again. Communists suppressed religion for about 50 years. And then after the Cultural Revolution in the 60s, they let religion back into society. So where these gods and goddesses were for that 50-year period of time is a good question. But they surely weren't on display in the National Gallery, I can guarantee you that. This is bronze work from the Zhou Dynasty, around 700 BC. A series of bronze cooking vessels created about 700 to 500 BC. And these are percussion instruments, like bells. from the same period. Kind of like the Christmas bells some people ring. Bigger. This is a series of sculptures of the patriotic leaders of the revolution. The bugle boy calling the troops, the leader leading the troops, the workers working to support the cause, the farmer, here's a picture of Mao addressing the folks in Tiananmen Square. And all around the outside is a whole series of patriotic murals that were painted over the years. Here's one of fighting in probably 1940 during World War II. Here's the Workers' Revolution. Here's some more fighting. I'm just going to pan around. You can see this whole gallery is just designed to support the revolutionary cause. Here's a little picture from the past. It's a picture of Mao and Stalin walking down the hall. Looks like it's in the Imperial Palace in Russia. They must not got the word that Stalin is now not appreciated in Russia. A small pavilion garden next to the Forbidden City cost us 16 cents to get in, and it's a shot where people get married for the camera. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
You are very beautiful.
Thank you.
You are a lucky man.
各位游客，请往下走了，不要把桥头堵住了。
They're laughing. Why are they laughing? They shouldn't be laughing. They're on duty. He's laughing. Mao's rolling in his grave.
往下走点好吧。
The entrance to Tiananmen Square, and a big bunch of Chinese tourists, always with the red hats, white hats, and a flag. The Rodeo Drive of China, Beijing, China, a really nice street. The whole street is slate and real fashionable stores, as impressive as any street in America for sure. Even got a street sweep. This is Iriki, a Nike knockoff. Not a swoosh, an Iriki. If that doesn't look like a swoosh, I've never seen a swoosh in my life. The subway systems have TVs which constantly advertise food, and then in the window you can see electronic bulletin as you go by. 24/7 Madison Avenue advertising. The Bird's Nest, or the National Stadium, which was used in the 2010 Olympics, and this is downtown Beijing. You can see the freeway and the rest of the city. Before the Olympics, this was a traditional Chinese village, and anybody that lived here had to go. The beauty of the communist system is if you want to develop property, all you do is tell the people time to go, and away you go. No EPA, no permits. You're in charge, you do it. Chinese baby with one kid. The kid is a baby for about 3-4 years. For the 2008 Olympics, and somebody selling kites, and the water cube for the 2008 Olympics, and the Olympic Tower for 2008 Olympics. At the Olympic Stadium, they have a whole series of food vendors. This guy's selling fried ice cream and looks like meatballs or some kind of a noodle with a rice. And here's beef on like falafel. And here's turkey. Of course, noodles, and dumplings. Chicken soup with a chicken leg in it. Of course, rice and fried clams, meatballs, rice, chicken, meatballs. Fried ice cream. Cost about 25 cents. Hopefully it will taste good and it will have pineapple on it maybe. The Beijing Railroad Station is really modern and really convenient. They got signs on the floor to tell you which way to go when you're coming in or going out of the train. The trains are real clean and real modern. They have automatic billboards in some places so you can be advertised too as you go on the train. And here comes the train now. Woo-hoo. The man purse is really, really big. Inside the Forbidden City. Inside the Forbidden City, basically one big tourist trap with a basketball court for the army recruits which live and train along the side of the thing.
不可以，你没学，你要学方法。
这表演没有？
这里，你看啊，
表演没有？
来抓住，一个手，来敲。回去给同事们、朋友们，咱玩玩的吧。回去给小孩子、大夫、给小朋友都可以玩。学校举行的节目可以玩玩，可以表演表演，知道吧？你看你自己整不进来的，你没学这个技巧，没学这个方法的，知道吧？有技巧有方法的。拉开一个还有仨，再拉开一个还有俩。这个晃一晃有。一个、两个、三个，走。
This is the Emperor's throne, and above it it says, "Long live the people." And somewhere there's supposed to be some dragons, but I don't see them anywhere. Baby throne next to the big throne. The little throne, the building with the big throne. About all I can say about the Forbidden City is one extremely big complex of an area. Even by today's standards of Beijing. This thing still is tremendously big in comparisons to the rest of the city. Again, dates from about 1200 to 1600 AD. More dragon art and a little deer in a small alcove. In the side chambers, there's a bunch of little rooms that have some fairly unique artistic treasures. And the odd part is most of the tourists don't see them because they only go through the main gate. The Forbidden City had 3 gates, 3 holes in the gate, and this one in the middle was for the emperor. That one on that side was for the princes, and then the court officials came through that one. But the center and most impressive one was reserved only for the emperor. The taking down of the flag happens at 6 o'clock. They closed off the street, and now a brigade is goose-stepping across the main avenue to take down the flag. Now they're marching. Stop the goose step. Oddly enough, they're not carrying AK-47s. It looks kind of like a M1. Tiananmen Square at night. This is the mausoleum where Mao is. We just went through it. I couldn't tell if it was a real person or not. He looked pretty waxy. All you see was his head. And I think they had artificial flowers for the most part. Strange, but really, really an important thing for the Chinese. October 2nd is the national holiday for independence or the establishment of China. And they're setting up decorations all around Tiananmen Square. Yeah, I hope you're. No. I hope you enjoy it. You're young. If I was like you, I would go too. 10. I just know from that bunker station. The Great Wall. This is a high-speed train from Beijing to Nanjing, about 1,000 miles away. The train is traveling probably 150 miles plus. We came to Beijing on an old hard sleeper, which is torture, and left Beijing on the future, which is high-speed rail. This is by far the nicest train I've ever ridden on. The seats are fairly comfortable, but the best part is the speed. Amazing. This is a box of noodles, and wherever people travel, they always got 4 or 5 of these things. It's kind of like Romanov noodles that we have, only about 3 times bigger. High-speed rail is set on concrete. There's no ties, just a concrete bed with rails on top of them. Corn is given way to rice and greenhouses, but primarily rice fields. Most of the work is still done by hand. This is a Nanjing memorial to the Chinese who were massacred by the Japanese during the occupation in World War II. I gotta confess, I kind of understand why the Japanese slaughtered the Chinese. I wouldn't mind slaughtering a few of them myself. This is a blockhouse from the defense system of Nanjing in 1937. The Japanese invaded on October 12th of 1937. And in 2006, they found the blockhouse and they dug it up, brought it in, put it in the museum, and you can't see it very well because it's not lit too well, but this is a memorial to the dead, and the little red dot in the center is what's supposed to be an eternal flame, but in typical Chinese fashion, it's a piece of red cloth lit up by white light with wind blowing on it to simulate flame. I guess gas costs too much. But they do have pictures of some of the folks that died. They estimate 300,000 folks died in the occupation of Nanjing. Nanjing was the capital. It also was the birthplace for Chiang Kai-shek's Democratic Republic, which was defeated by Mao, and in turn, Chiang Kai-shek fled to Taiwan. Japanese periodicals claiming victory in the invasion of China. And a New York Times article noting it too. A series of pictures and artifacts showing the slaughter of the Chinese by the Japanese. Hitler is given credit for helping stop the massacre. This plaque tells you how history should remember the massacre of Nanjing. Ironically, there's nothing in the exhibit that I could see that give any credit at all to the United States' role in ending World War II. It's like it was the Germans and the Chinese that stopped them. This prologue denotes the defeat of the Japanese army by the Chinese army in World War II. My brother Charlie would just love this museum. If you ever needed a classic example of communist propaganda, this thing is it. The essence of the whole display is how the Chinese revolutionaries, i.e. Mao, defeated the Japanese in World War II. No mention of the fight in the Midway Islands or Iwo Jima or the dropping of the bomb in Nagasaki. Just a complete brainwash. It's very easy to see why the Japanese are so incensed by this museum, because they are portrayed as nothing but mass murderers and slaughterers. Now I have a sympathy for the Japanese, because when you go to Saigon, there's a museum of the American genocide in the Vietnam War. We look like saints compared to this display. It's despicable. This is life on a Chinese bus. A slow day at the Nanjing train station. I repeat, a slow day. This is a small lake in Nanjing. That's Nanjing skyline on the other side of the lake. It's kind of hazy today, but I also think it's very smoggy here. I've had a real problem with congestion and sinuses, so I think what it is pollution, but I'm not sure. One of the things they do when the bus stops, they turn off the engine, so I think that pollution is a problem, and that's their way of trying to solve it. This is the tomb of Sun Yat-sen, and around 1920 to 29, he was the first revolutionary that said, the world doesn't belong to the emperor, the world belongs to the people. And at the top of the hill lies the dead man. There's 9 sets of stairs, and at the top is the mausoleum for Dr. Sin, the first revolutionary in modern China. Dr. Sen was the founding father of the modern China. He preceded Chiang Kai-shek and Mao, who were his proteges, and really was the start of the end of the emperor. And all these folks are coming to pay homage to him in his mausoleum. I'm going to turn around and show you the final mausoleum. And at the top it says, the world belongs to the people versus the world belongs to the emperor. One of the problems that you have in seeing sites is, in one place in English they'll have one word, in another place they'll have a different word. Like this here says Sun Yat-sen's Memorial Hall, and on the map it says Sun Yat-sen Museum Hall. Because English is so primitive, they often get the words confused. This is an academy which has the scrolls of all of the doctors' philosophies on how the world should be run. Of course, it's all Chinese, so the best I can tell you is the emperor is no more, and power to the people. Another memorial to Dr. Sun Yin Zhang Qingchang Chu, the revolutionary founder of China. Modern day. The streets in downtown Nanjing. Egg drop soup, spicy beef, beef with rice, meal for two for about $4. We're ordering steamed dumplings, but it's taken a while for those, so. Dumplings, good. A backpacker's nightmare is dogs, but in China, the only dogs that I've seen is little bitty dogs like this, very docile, never do anything to bark or anything. This is the Yangtze River. I came to Nanjing with the explicit purpose of going on the river from Nanjing to Wuhan, which is about 300-400 miles away, but unfortunately the river ferries no longer travel. This looks like some kind of a salvage boat. It's got a lot of metal and iron rods, and my guess is they probably go up and down the river, and they got this drag hook net on the front which trolls the bottom of the river, and they pull up the scrap metal, and then they probably sell the scrap metal in the market. All these tankers going up the river, and I can't find a boat to ride up the river. That's only because of the language problem. I'm sure that if you could speak Chinese, one of these guys would probably give you a ride for minimum money. And unfortunately, I screwed around too long and didn't get to the task, and now I'm about to leave on the train tonight. So maybe no ride on it, but I haven't given up hope yet. What is that? I believe that guy got hit by the car on the motorbike. This is advertised in the tour map as the Confucius Temple. Turns out to be one giant shopping mall with an amusement, like an old carnival from a fair. Win a teddy bear or a lion. To see them, KFC is making millions of dollars here. McDonald's is not. KFC is very popular, and if it wasn't for China, KFC may be broke. China is the bulk of their money today.
Yes. In China, KFC is like
Confucius Temple. It's a combination ancient city, street festival, amusement park. Buy whatever you want. Today's Saturday. It's very popular. Probably every day of the week. the Nanjing subway on a busy day. Downtown Nanjing on a Saturday afternoon, busy, busy, busy. These are vacant apartment buildings and they're all over China. This is a hard sleeper. It's got 3 bunks and it costs about $1 extra to sleep on the bottom, and the cheapest is on the top. And these guys are selling hygienic products like soap and toothpaste. There's always somebody selling something on the train. The black is the smoke coming from the train. It's a diesel. Most of the trains are electric. The high-speed train is electric, but one of the things I found out yesterday was that the high-speed train railroad is in a real big pickle because it's over-debted, almost 100% in debt for the value. The big question is whether the system survived because the people aren't rich enough to ride the fast train. Every now and then you see a farmer out cutting the rice, and the mechanization is they use a weed whacker to cut it. It's a step up from using a scythe. This looks like a really prosperous part of China. All the farms are well kept, and all of them are bookended to a fish pond, which also serves as an irrigation source for the rice fields. There's always somebody cleaning, but still it's dirty. I don't know what the story is, but the only people in the dining car are people that work on the train. Everybody else brings their own food, and as a result they don't eat in the dining car. And I ordered a beer, and oddly enough the beer I got is Pabst Blue Ribbon, but it's made in China. This is the hard seat compartment, and the only thing worse than the hard seat is the no seat. These guys got the no seat. These are the hard seats. You sit like vertically up. This is downtown Guilin. It's in the southern part of China, and it is by far the nicest city we've been to so far. Really clean, and it's an upscale tourist city for the Chinese. It's supposed to be one of the prettiest areas in China. And we've been here about 3-4 hours, and I'd have to say it lives up to its reputation. Needless to say, this is a cake shop, and she's decorating little cakes. And this other guy back here is grating chocolate. What Guilin is famous for is its Curse Mountains, and it's kind of raining. I don't know if you can see in the background, but there's a shape of the mountain is visible to me, and then there's this river that flows through the city, and it also is one of the most spectacular sights in China. It's really a pretty town. It's comparable, I would say, to maybe Biltmore part of North Carolina. Guilin is where most backpackers start their trek into China because there's a lot of English speakers here and it's a real friendly place. I was going to do that, but changed my mind and ended up here, finishing my trip here, and I'm glad I did because it is so different from the rest of China. The best came last, let me put it that way. I could never figure out why the sidewalks always had this strip in the center. Now I know. Because the sidewalks are marble, and when it rains they're slick as could be, but that center is granite that's been roughed up so you can get traction. The lake, there's 4 lakes in Galeen. You can walk around them. It's about 25 kilometers to go around them, and of course they have boat trips on them. It's really a beautiful place. Bank of China.
有这个东西 ，How much this one？
150.
元？
Yeah.
咦，在哪看买的啦？
Hey, baby, baby. Smile, baby.
嗨。
Hi, baby. Hi, baby. Hey, baby.
哦，
Hey, baby.
How much this one?
这个。
This is a little mom and pop restaurant, and we just had fried noodles here, which was like the best I ever had. And they were like $1 for all you could eat.
Oh.
I'm on Elephant Island. I came to see the Koran fishing, and apparently it's it's the wrong season. This is Elephant Island. And normally you'd see Koran fishing. This is Guilin from halfway up Elephant Mountain. Elephant Mountain is very high. We have a college student with us. His name is Tang, and then Tam and myself were up on top of Elephant Mountain. And it's been raining off and on, but you can see the Curse Mountains in the background. Come on in the city. Soon it will be beautiful. You can see the Curse Mountains in the background. This is a train station at Julene, and we're trying to catch a train, and those numbers tell you the train, it tells you how much it costs, when it leaves, and there's a different seat price depending upon whether you're sitting in a soft seat, hard seat, a sleeper, or a soft sleeper. The harder the seat, the cheaper the seat. Bowl of dog next to the chicken feet and the pork snouts and the olives and what is this one?
It's tofu.
Tofu.
Yeah, tofu.
Tofu and dog. Yum yum. We're getting ready to go on a boat trip on the Lu River, and these are limestone karst, they call them, kind of like a mountain. Kind of like cruising down the Black River, only bigger mountains, all limestone. This is supposed to be the most scenic river trip in China.
personal one. What's like?
Looks like nothing. Why?
Yeah, like a big fish.
Like a big fish.
Yes, the
Yeah,
yellow.
yeah.
Yeah, the yellow.
Hey! This is a little rest stop along the river, and they're growing chickens. This is the family that owns it. Here's where they live. And this is the restaurant, kitchen. And the dining room. The guy showed me a cigarette pack, and the cigarette has this scene of these mountains on the cigarette pack as its advertisement. Kind of like the Marlboro Cowboy, only Cursed Mountain. A small herd of water buffalo grazing next to the bank of the river. Looks like they're tied in place. And one little baby calf. A couple little baby calves. This is one of many tourist boats that travel the lakes within Goleen. In the background you can see the mountains. In 2 days I leave for Nanning, and from there I'll head to Hap Long Bay in Vietnam. My stay in China is almost complete. Watermelon and brown fried noodles for $15, which is $2.10. Those noodles are great. And this is the owner of the shop. All lit up and you can walk around it. Really a nice little park. In the background you can see a bridge and the mountains, but I don't think they show up on the film. But there's a cruise boat coming by. All kinds of walnuts and walnut saddlers, meat, vegetables. This is really a big market. Standing room only on the old hard cedar. Holiday season in China. This is a train exit. Wall to wall.